What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Chat with Corey. I'm not really sure what episode number this is, but we've been off for a couple weeks with a little spring break and other activities preventing us from making time to do this. So I thought I'd hop back on here on this Saturday, Final Four Saturday, and we'll get to that in just a minute. NASCAR Saturday, we'll get to that in just a minute. So, NASCAR, men's and women's Final Four, a couple coaching topics, and a little Major League Baseball is off and running will be our topics of discussion today. So I'm just going to jump right into it. In the last week, there's been a lot of discussion. First started on the Dale Jr. download for NASCAR about must you be in the NASCAR Cup Series, which is the top level of NASCAR, to qualify yourself to be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And one of the guys on the Dale Jr. download, he made the comment, well, Major League Baseball, pro football, if you're not at the top level of those sports, you're not in the Hall of Fame for those sports. But he failed to compare to one of those sports, or one of the four major sports he failed to compare to, and that is the James Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, where everybody in the James Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame is not NBA players. There's foreign players, there's college players, there's high school players and coaches. So it doesn't have, for their Hall of Fame, it doesn't have to be at the top elite level. And so for NASCAR, there are guys who are Hall of Fame NASCAR modified drivers. There are guys who are in the O'Reilly series who are extremely successful, winning championships, winning a lot of races that I think probably eventually someday, if not already, should be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And then there's guys that drive the trucks, and they win championships, win a lot of games. And some guys are just career truck driver, NASCAR Craftsman truck drivers. Some guys are just career O'Reilly, Busch, Xfinity, whatever you want to call the step below the Winston Cup, Nextel Cup, whatever you want to call the Cup Series. So with that being said, I think you don't have to be in the elite level of Cup to be a Hall of Famer at the NASCAR level. Also, back in the day, a lot of your short tracks and your local tracks were sponsored or owned or sanctioned by NASCAR. So a lot of those short track drivers winning 500-600 races in their career could be considered for the NASCAR Hall of Fame. So I don't think you have to be a Cup driver. That's been a big discussion around the NASCAR world, the racing world of late. I don't think you have to be that Cup driver to be a part of that is where I'm going with that. Then we're going to fast forward a little bit to today. Just finished watching the O'Reilly Series race. And Cleetus McFarland, the YouTube sensation, a.k.a. His actual name is Garrett Mitchell, just completed his first O'Reilly race with Richard Childress Racing, and he finished, 31st, 32nd out of 38. Well, he didn't get last. We got 18, 19-year-olds running up front, but we got a lot of people saying that Cleetus McFarland maybe doesn't deserve the opportunity to be running in the O'Reilly Series because he's just a YouTube sensation. Well, here's the deal. Richard Childress Racing called him, and they called him. What's he supposed to do? Say no? They've worked with him. They've trained with him. They've put him on the sim rigs. They've taken him to tracks and had him practice. He completed a race today. He stayed out of everybody's way. He wasn't any major issue today. There were guys with tons more experience with just tearing up their equipment today and banging into the wall and spinning out. There are certain guys spinning out more than once that maybe people think are a better driver or a very more qualified driver than Cleetus McFarland. But you know what? He did it. He stayed out of the way. He wasn't a major distraction. He didn't cause a big wreck. So good for him finishing the race today. But then you go to a little bit earlier today, and you see the ARCA East race at Rockingham. And Cleetus McFarland and his YouTube sensation buddy, Squirrel McNutt. Cleetus finishes fourth in that ARCA race, and Squirrel McNutt finishes ninth. So 2 top 10 finishes for those guys. I just get so tired of everybody criticizing. You know what? Someone gives you the opportunity. It's all about timing and situation, or timing and fit, and that was the right timing and the right fit for those guys. Good for them. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's in sports. I don't care if it's in racing. I don't care if it's in just in your career path that you choose. It's all about timing and fit. And sometimes it's the right timing and fit for you, and sometimes it's the right timing and fit for other people. But just here recently, it's been the right timing and fit for Cleetus McFarland, and I will even throw in his good buddy, Squirrel McNutt. So good for those guys. I hope they've enjoyed their opportunities today. I hope to see them race more. I think they're really good for NASCAR and viewership and all those numbers. And I think that sometimes the fans talks. As the ARCA race ended and they were interviewing the guy who won the ARCA race today, you could hear the fans cheering because Cleetus McFarland had climbed out of his car with a 4th place finish. So that is cool to me. I love racing. I love the underdog story. Yes, he's a YouTuber, and my son Ben and I watch him a lot on YouTube, but good for him. Good for him. So let's not judge that. Let's not criticize that. Let's just remember it's about timing and fit. He got the opportunity and he's taking advantage of it. Maybe he only runs a few times, but good for him. Good for him. Do what makes you happy, as I always say too. So good for them. So with that being said, I got a couple men's and women's college basketball topics. The first college basketball topic, University of North Carolina fires Hubert Davis after winning 70% of his games. They don't feel like the program's headed in the right direction because he blew a 19-point lead with his best player not being eligible to play because he got hurt. So you're telling me the best player on your team gets hurt, so now all of a sudden you're not good enough because your best player gets hurt and you don't finish as strong as you had started until he got hurt. And then all the crazies down there at UNC, they're talking about who they're going to hire, what coaches are they going to get there. Are they going to get Dusty May from Michigan? Are they going to get Tommy Lloyd from Arizona? Are they going to get Ben McCollum from Iowa? Is Billy Donovan going to come from the NBA and take the UNC job? Well, guess what? Ben McCollum's not leaving Iowa. I don't think Dusty May's leaving Michigan. Now, Tommy Lloyd has not really come out and said that he is not leaving Arizona, but there is an offer on the table for him to stay at Arizona with a contract extension. But why would those guys leave where they've made the Final Four, the Elite Eight, to go to the UNC? What does UNC have to offer? Other than crazy admin, crazy fan base that's going to fire you if you don't win a national championship. Iowa's not won a national championship in men's basketball in my lifetime. Michigan last won a men's national championship in basketball in 1989. And Arizona last won in 1987. So the pressure to win and chase the championship as to whether to win and be an elite program for a long, long time is two different things. And to stay in a program where you're the guy that everybody loves, everybody wants to meet, everybody wants to hear from, or go to a program where you can be one of their own, and Hubert Davis, who is a good dude, real good dude, and you could get fired because you won 70% of your games, but you're not winning national championships, and you didn't win a game when you lost your best player earlier in the year. Crazy. Now, if I'm UNC, I stay inside the family. I find a Tar Heel. It seems to work. I wish IU would have understood that a long time ago. Now, they tried it with Mike Davis. It didn't work, and everybody said, see, it didn't work, but it was too late. It was too late for that. They should have tried that a long time ago. They should have tried that 25 years ago, but they didn't want to do that. But I think if you look at somewhere like Purdue and what Matt Painter does, and Matt Painter sells his pride and his love of his school being an alumni, I think That's what UNC needs to think. I also think if I was UNC, I would call Matt Painter. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't hurt anything to call some of these guys and see, hey, what's your interest? Would you be interested in joining us, helping us out? Would you be interested in this job? Do you just want to talk to us about this job? Remember, just a few years ago, Matt Painter talked to Missouri. He did decline it, but he did talk to him. He did take the phone call. As a former coach, you take those calls. You're going to listen. You're going to hear what people have to say. People have even asked me, are you going to coach again? I don't know if I'm going to coach again. But if the right person called and the right opportunity presented itself, yeah, maybe I would. I almost think to be a head coach again, I'm just waiting for somebody to call me. And you know what? If nobody ever calls me to be a head coach, that's great. And maybe I'll be an assistant somewhere again, maybe not. And that's great too, because I'm finding my love and joy in other things. I do miss coaching, but we're just going to leave that right there. We'll put that on the back burner. This is not about me, but it is about you got to make those phone calls. Now they should call Ben McCullough. UNC should call Ben McCollum. They should call Tommy Lloyd, and they should call Dusty May and make them tell them no. There is some hang up about Billy Donovan coming back from the NBA to the college game. He's been very successful in the college game. He's been pretty successful in the NBA, just not real excited about a situation there in Chicago. And yeah, he is 60 years old, but that's roughly what Roy Williams was when they brought him back to UNC. And people say, well, Roy Williams left Kansas to come to UNC. Well, Roy Williams was a UNC alumni. And then that takes it all the way back to what I've already said. Maybe they should stay inside the family of the University of North Carolina. Those are just my thoughts on who they should hire and how they should go about it and how the world of coaching is crazy. But that's what I would do if I was in their situation. Final Four starts here in probably less than an hour here in Indianapolis. I was hoping to go, but those ticket prices are outrageous. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So I'm looking forward to those two games tonight, and I'm looking forward to the women's championship tomorrow and the men's championship on Monday. But let's talk about it a little bit. I've got Michigan. I've got Michigan over Arizona is what I've got in my bracket, but when I think about it, man, Arizona looks really good against Purdue. It looked really good against Purdue. But I like Michigan. Why do I like Michigan? They got size. They've got guard play. They got shooters. They got athleticism. And I do think Dusty May is a very good coach. And I do think Tommy Lloyd is a very good coach. But I think Michigan's a little more experienced, a little more veteran leadership. And Arizona's playing three freshmen. So that's just, I'm always going to lean toward the upperclassmen. I think in the NCAA tournament, I think the two keys that I've always said about the NCAA tournament, the two keys I think is, do you have shooters and do you have upperclassmen? More importantly, do you have senior leadership to help you make it in the tournament? That's what I've always said about what wins in the NCAA tournament. That's just my philosophy on it, my thoughts on it. So I'm taking Michigan. And then on the other side, I really don't know who I'm going to take. In my bracket, I have Illinois, and they're still kicking. I have the final being Michigan and Illinois, but I just don't know. Why do I like Illinois? Illinois kind of plays an interesting style. They're long. They're really long. They're physical. They don't foul a whole lot, but they are physical. They're long, and they've got some veterans as well. And it's been a long time. They haven't been to the Final Four in a long time, and probably 20 years since Bruce Weber took his group of guys there. So good for Illinois. It's not far from Champaign to Indianapolis. And when you look yesterday, my son's like, did you see Illinois' crowd for the open practice? It was huge. There's probably 25,000 people there. So you know, it is Illinois is really good. But after what Braylon Mullins and UConn did last week to win that game, I wouldn't count them out either. So I'm picking Michigan and Illinois, and I'm picking Michigan to win the whole thing. That's what I've picked from day one. I'm not changing my mind. I'm not veering too far off of that, but that's what I'm picking. If anybody's asking, you may not care. I don't care what you think. So that's who I'm picking, and I'm looking forward to those games here in a little bit. Let's touch base on a couple things. The next two things that we're going to touch base on kind of tie themselves together. Last week, Danny Hurley got a little carried away in his celebration did a little attitude and had a little swag and a little bounce to his step, and he kind of got real close and maybe touched foreheads with the referee after they won, mean mugging him and strutting around. And but you know what, it's all emotion, and he was just having fun. I think it's funny. Is it weird? Is it silly? Yeah. Should you not touch your referee? Yeah. But kudos to the referee for not calling a technical. He's just excited that his team won. He's just being a guy from the East Coast out there in Jersey, and just enjoying himself. And there's nothing wrong with the way he responded and the way he acted in that moment. I just think it's kind of cool. I love his passion. I love his enthusiasm. And sometimes am I wondering, what in the world is that guy doing? Yeah, yeah, and we'll get to that in just a second. But I love watching his teams play, and I love watching his energy. Are there times where he's annoying? Yeah. Are there times where I think maybe he's a jerk? Yeah. But do I enjoy watching him? Yep. And if you ever listen to him interview, the man's been through a lot and had a lot of pressure on him his whole life. And everybody's like, well, he makes a lot of money. Yeah. Till you're in that spot, just sit there and hold your horses and not worry about it. And then last night we had UConn women losing to South Carolina, and we had a little tension at the end of the game. Gino Ariama, the greatest women's basketball coach in the history of women's basketball at the collegiate level, kind of lost his mind and kind of went after Dawn Staley from South Carolina and her staff after the game, maybe even in the game. He had a young lady get her shirt ripped, no foul called. He made some comments about the names the things that Dawn Staley says to officials and players while she's coaching. In his press conference, he didn't retract any of that. He has since retracted any of that, telling them good luck. But here's what I'm going to say about Gino standing up for his players. And I don't care that he went after Dawn Staley. I don't care that he yelled at Dawn Staley. For one, it was a very emotional coach. I was very intense. I did some silly things. I did some things to maybe embarrass myself. Do I regret the things I did? I don't regret anything because that was my path. Do I wish I did things different? Absolutely. But I'm not regretting anything. Been kicked out of games. Had some confrontations with other coaches. Had some confrontations with some opposing players, which you should never talk to opposing players. But when a young high school boy cusses at you and tells you your players are not a very nice name, you're not going to take that real well, because I think your number one job as a coach is to protect your players. So the fact that Gino went off on Dawn Staley doesn't bother me. The fact that he was yelling at her doesn't bother me. I think the thing that's lost in it, though, is you can hear on the camera, you can hear Dawn Staley saying, I will beat Gino's ass. I will beat Gino's ass. But nobody's saying anything about what she said. Now, once again, it doesn't bother me what she said, but don't criticize the greatest women's basketball coach at the college level for having a strong opinion for his players and standing up for his players and kind of taking it to Dawn Staley. I don't care what anybody say. They can say it's classless or whatever. But you know what? I don't think it is. I think it's a coach that loves his team. People think Tom Izzo at Michigan State they think he's crazy. They don't like how he talks to players. They don't like how he treats players. Oh, come on, society. We can't be that soft. We can't be that soft. It's an intense game. It's an emotional game. It's an enthusiastic game. You put a lot of time and effort there. Coaches are getting paid a lot of money to win games. I might lose my mind a little bit. And maybe, down the road, maybe you should issue an apology, but my job is my team. My job's my team. Sometimes I look like a nut job, but my job is my team. And that's what Gino did. And Dawn Staley felt attacked, and she come right after him. That's what she did. Good for her. And that's what Danny Hurley does. The people that don't like Danny Hurley, that's fine, but Danny Hurley is fighting for his team. Danny Hurley's a little crazy, yeah. But I enjoy the crazy. I was a crazy coach, as I said before. So a lot of times people need to understand they need to back it down. They need to cool their jets. They need to chill out just a little bit and just let them coach their team. I mean, they're humans. They make mistakes. I never want to see people suspended or fired over some of the decisions they make. Yeah, does it look bad? Yeah, is it a terrible thing? Yeah, but this man right here, Coach Knight, that man right there, Coach Knight, he did some crazy things. He's my favorite coach of all time. Am I going to tell you everything he ever did was the right decision? No, but you know what? He was successful because it worked for him. And I'm not going to say that it was always right, and I'm not going to say these people are always right, but they just love their teams and they have their passion, and they're going to do what they think is right, and that's all that matters. So there's enough about that. Michigan, Illinois going to win tonight. That's my thought. Michigan's going to win it all on Monday. I think Don Staley in South Carolina is going to win tomorrow night for the women's national championship on the Final Four on the women's side. One last little bit here real quick. We'll touch base on Major League Baseball season is off and running, and the hot topic right now, Major League Baseball, is the ABS system, the automatic balls and strike system that they are using. You have 2 challenges a game. And if once you've lost those 2, you're out. You win, you're good. You keep your challenge. But once you lose twice, you can't challenge anymore. The catcher or the batter are the ones who challenge it. I was afraid that it was going to slow down the game because Major League Baseball has worked really hard to improve the game as far as the length of the game. And I was at a game on Wednesday down in Cincinnati. It did not slow it down. Now, my only holdup with the ABS system is the umpires are being judged on what the percentage of their calls is being challenged and what percentage of their calls is being overturned. I don't like that. I wish the ABS system, maybe we get to a point to where we have some kind of electronic technology device that the umpire holds onto or in their pocket and helps them make that call. Human error is part of it when you're an official. Human error is part of it when you're a coach, as we were just talking about of it. And human error is part of it as a player, as we were just talking about just a few minutes ago. So the ABS system is good for baseball. I think it needs tweaked a little bit, but I'm worried about the criticism that the umpires are going to take. At the high school and collegiate level, we are short officials in all sports. If we start criticizing and getting rid of the officials at the top level and elite level officials, the shortage of officials is just only going to get worse. Human error is part of it. Should we maybe have should there be something in place for the officials or umpires to be evaluated and have discussions with some leadership? Absolutely, but continuing to put that out there where we could see what they've done right and what they've done wrong, I don't think is good for Major League Baseball. It wouldn't be good for the NFL football, and it wouldn't be good for the NBA basketball because we only have a handful of officials at that level anyways. And if we start getting rid of guys at quicker clips, we're going to be bringing more guys up that aren't quite up to snuff yet or up to qualified to do it yet. So that's my topics for today. A little NASCAR, a little coaching, a little Final Four, a little baseball. Before we get out of here, remember, if you're looking for a new vehicle, get a hold of my friend Chad Wetz at Kokomo Auto World. It's the place to go. You can contact him through me or Facebook. If you look him up, you can find him on Facebook. He's got a lot of good deals on Facebook right now. And then the other thing is our other sponsor, Aaron Scott Travelmation. All your Disney destinations, your cruise lines, you can get with her. All inclusives, get with her. She can find you maybe what you're looking for you and your family for your next vacation. So that's Aaron Scott Travelmation, and that is Chad Wetz at Kokomo Auto World. Remember, find those things you enjoy to do. I'm getting ready to enjoy a couple Final Four men's basketball games here this evening, and just find those things you enjoy to do. See you, everybody.